So, last night at 2:17 a.m., every child from Miss Gandy's class woke up, got out of bed, went downstairs, opened the front door, walked into the dark, and they never came back. That's the setup for Weapons, Zach Cregger's new feature following his last horror film, Barbarian. This is an original project written and directed by Cregger, starring Julia Garner as Miss Justine Gandy, our mysterious teacher, Josh Brolin as an upset, grieving father in the neighborhood who's quite accusatory towards Miss Gandy, Alden Ehrenreich as Paul, a local police officer, and a few other characters who I don't really want to get into too much. Those are kind of our three big ones. Weapons takes place in a suburban neighborhood of modern day that is very much upset by these events. And it's been a while. I think at the beginning of the film, it's been the rest of the summer. They shut down the school for a few months, I think, to kind of check things out, and then ultimately are just kind of starting to open the school back up. Despite the fact that these kids are missing, the local cops are looking for them. Miss Gandy doesn't have any answers and has been struggling all year. And all of the parents who don't know where their children are like, what do you mean you're just opening the school back and life's going back to normal and we're not going to do anything about this? It is a neighborhood that has been torn apart by this great tragedy and mystery of these missing kids. 17 kids just get up and run out of their house in the middle of the night. Where did they go? Why did they leave? Who knows something about this, right? This suburban community that is like just absolutely struggling for answers. The film is directed by Cregger. I talked about who it stars. I don't want to give away too much. It's a bit of a mystery. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to talk about the ending. So I just want to jump into Andy. What'd you think of Weapons?
So I really, really enjoyed this. Has been one of our most anticipated movies, not only of the summer, but of the whole year. Really been looking forward to it. Zach Cregger, he's a hot new talent. He's already scheduled to do a Resident Evil movie. He's got something else cooking after that. He's in high demand. It's an exciting time for him. And I didn't really know what to expect because it's such an interesting mystery. And no matter what I thought the movie was going to be about or where it was going to go, I could not have guessed at all where it does. And I think that's part of what I enjoyed. I think we can talk a little bit about our characters, a little bit about our setup, or some of our style. One of the things that's really interesting is that the movie does this Rashomon kind of approach. And by that, I mean that we get the same set of events told from different character perspectives. We get one from Miss Gandy, from Josh Brolin's character, from Benedict Wong's character, from other characters. And so you kind of can piece together what is happening somewhat. But it's one of those things, the more answers you get, it just seems to raise more questions, and it just kind of takes us deeper and deeper into the mystery. Cregger has said that the film Magnolia, the Paul Thomas Anderson film that does a similar thing, is very influential on this. The multiple perspectives, and that was something I didn't know or expect. I think it's something that really works, makes it really interesting. All our characters are kind of represent different aspects of suburban or like small midtown life, and they're all struggling. They all struggle to control the situations they're in. Julia Garner's character, she can't control this lynch mob of parents that are after her. Josh Brolin, he's frustrated with the investigation. He's going down to the police station wanting more and more answers, and they're like, well, the investigation's ongoing. Alden Ehrenreich is the police officer who is, his entire life is just out of control. He's in this awful relationship, and he's in this kind of dead end job. And there's some other interesting characters. So it's a really interesting setup and approach to the movie.
Yeah, I really can't believe how well this shift in perspective keeps you glued to your seat. Like, not only through like the scary, thrilling parts of the movie, but also like the very telling drama and quite funny comedy. Like it's got three really fantastic elements of these things like that manage to come together in all of these different character retellings. I think it ultimately pivots through 5 different character perspectives. And we don't want to talk about what all of those are. Much rather you go see it and find out for yourself. But it does such a good job of kind of bringing you into the story with our intro. You've got this kind of fable retelling. A young girl is explaining these events over a voiceover at the start of the film. And then for like the first act, like you almost forget you're watching a horror movie because these characters are so compelling and they're so nuanced and troubled and broken and grieving. Like, And when they interact with one another and their lives that are obviously very much going on outside of this mystery that we don't really understand or haven't really gotten to yet, like you're getting all of this character and all of this like genuine emotion from them. And then it reminds you, oh yeah, like you got to find out what happened to those kids. And that's where Weapons like really starts to take a turn into something really special. Like, and it's kind of, I couldn't believe how quickly I kind of forgot that I was watching a horror movie. It's funny, it's dramatic, and then surprise, there's quite a mystery happening in the middle of all of this.
Right. I kind of felt that same way. There might be too many characters and points of view. I remember that I've actually seen this twice. The first time I remember thinking about halfway through the police, Alden Ehrenreich's point of view, that I was like, where are we kind of going? I feel like we're getting away from the main storyline, but it does end up tying in really well. But yeah, there's all this small town drama going on and everyone's really kind of messy. I remember thinking from the trailer that Julia Garner's character is like this very sweet and innocent teacher, and like she's a struggling alcoholic. She has other like impulse control issues. She's fighting with the principal, played by Benedict Wong, and as a former teacher, Benedict Wong is so good as like the administrator because he's so kind of diplomatic and he knows all the stuff to say. And I was like, he definitely had like researched this really well. Yeah. But our differing perspectives get really interesting. I wanted to talk about our scares just a little bit. It is a horror movie, and there's a lot of tonal shifts in there. Parts of it are really funny, kind of. They're supposed to be, and sometimes I think they just are. But there's some really terrifying moments, and the second time I saw it, I knew all the jump scares that were coming, and some of them still got me. They were still really scary, but it doesn't depend on them too much. It's not as like kind of atmospherically creepy the way something like maybe The Shining would be, or even Hereditary, but it's got good scares in there, is what I'm trying to say.
It was such a treat watching the credits for Weapons and seeing in the special thanks David Fincher and Bill Hader, both immediately credited as a special thanks. I don't know Cregger's relationship with Hader, but he talked about Fincher in an interview. And he said Fincher, was available during pre and during post-production and genuinely helped with the edit of the film. He said he helped from things like pacing and just like kind of when to cut to things like genuinely reframing. Like, hey, let's zoom in on this 8K shot and make this a 4K and put this subject on this side of the screen instead because it'll work better when you cut back from that. And I don't know how much of this movie is directly influenced by Fincher, but I can tell Cregger has grown so much from Barbarian. And Barbarian, I thought, was a great first horror entry. Like, it's not a perfect movie by any means, but so much better than so many directors put out for their first horror feature. Like, and Weapons is better in nearly every way. Part of what I like so much about Barbarian was this perspective shift, right? Like in Barbarian, when our lead arrives at this Airbnb and there's a person already staying there, you have these two immediate perspectives of these two people. And then a third of the way into it, it cuts to another guy out in California, Justin Long's character. And Barbarian only really has kind of those two or three, and one of them you don't even really dance in. This one goes further in every way. Every character is deeper and better. Every laugh is funnier. Every scare is more brutal. Like the suspense is tighter. Like it really feels like he's grown in every sense. I think if I have a criticism of Weapons, I think it has too many themes. This is something that people have talked about a lot. Weapons isn't about anything. Or Weapons doesn't have a central message. I think it actually has a few central messages. It may have too many. Like it may be a situation where it's too muddled and general audiences come out and say, I don't see any one clear direction of what this movie's about. Cregger's talked about it in interviews. It's actually really illuminating, but I do think it kind of talks towards the end of the movie, so I don't really want to get into what that is here. But I do like what this movie's doing. If anything, I think it might be too full. Like it might command a rewatch. You know, I need to go check it out again.
Yeah, there are. Gosh, this movie's about, I think, a lot of things, and especially before it came out, there were lots of theories about what it was going to be about. The number one being it's about school violence, and it may be a little bit about that, but I think the blanket thing is kind of suburban small town fears, kind of what lurks behind closed doors. And there's Cregger has kind of said in a broad sense that it's a more personal film than I think people were expecting, because I think everyone's looking for these big social themes, and I don't think that's necessarily his main focus. There's been a lot of comparisons, funnily enough, to Eddington from
Yeah.
last month, in that a similar a town at war with itself and kind of ignoring the real problems because of these conflicts. But there's a lot in there, and I agree with Zach what he said about this is such not an improvement, but a show of growth in the director. The pacing is really good. The cinematography's better. And I'm not a real fan of Barbarian, but I really enjoyed this. And yeah, he's just doing so much more with the camera and the way it's edited, and all of it just shows a big step in maturity and growth. It's not a perfect script. I think this is getting a little overhyped by some reviewers and being like, oh, it's one of the greatest things in the last 20 years. And then it's like, whoa. Let's take it easy. There's a lot of great things about it, but we also need to keep ourselves grounded. And we want directors room to grow. I think Zach Cregger's best work is yet to come. I think he will give us a masterpiece or several during his career. Not quite there yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I am very much looking forward to what Cregger does next, but I'm not convinced this isn't maybe a masterpiece. Like, it might be. Like, I think time may be more kind to Weapons, and people have already been really warm on it. People seem to really go for this. Critics love it. I think it's so interesting that of all these themes that seem so outward about suburbia and like American neglect and yeah, like communal ignorance, or maybe like a malicious intent to not look at the problem for what it really is. I think it's fascinating that we all see this, and Cregger says in interviews, no, this is all inward. This is all about personal stuff for me. This is how my parents treated me when I was a kid. This is about losing my friend and long-term sketch comedy partner. Like he says this is all personal, but it's like so many people can connect to this art. And if this is strictly personal for you, like, how did you make something that's so damn entertaining? Like, it's really something special. I think Weapons is really cool. I need to go watch it again. Definitely got to grill Andy about his second time around. I think I saw on Instagram today you had seen it again. I was like, shoot, I didn't even notice. So any other thoughts before we wrap up Weapons? Sure.
I will say a difference between the first and second viewing. The crowd in my first viewing was very serious, very like no chuckles, like no one really laughing at the intentionally or unintentionally funny moments. And the second crowd was kind of cracking up all throughout the film. And Cregger said he did not write this as a comedy or as like, he's not trying to make people laugh, but some of it's just funny by the nature of it, and because it feels so real world, and all our characters feel like real people, and so a lot of times their reactions to things are the way you and I would react in ridiculous situations, and it comes off as funny. So everyone laughing a little bit more in the second viewing. Everyone really scared out of their minds both times. Lots of gasps, lots of like people clutching their hearts afterwards. So yeah, the scare is definitely still working.
Yeah, it's very cool. Andy, would you recommend Weapons?
Absolutely would. I was really happy with this, really surprised by a lot of it. Huge growth for the director, Zach Cregger, in style, in cinematography, in writing. Good performances from Jennifer Garner, Josh Brolin, Benedict Wong, and more. Real exciting stuff. I can't get too much into it because it's a big mystery to be unraveled. Really makes you think. I've seen it twice. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend.
Yeah, same. Delightful roller coaster of a movie. You will be glued to the screen the whole time. It might be a great film. It's a very good movie. It might be great. I'm not sure yet. Time will tell. Weapons rocks. Please go see it in a theater. Go see it on the biggest screen you can. Get loudspeakers. Like, this is one to turn out to the movies for. It's really fun. Yeah, and that's Weapons. We need to talk about some upcoming trailers, some stuff that's coming out soon. Andy, what do we call this segment?
It's time for the trailer park.